Picture this. You're sitting at your desk, doing what you think is boring translation work, when you realize that every single document you've been translating for the past 6 months is evidence of the biggest financial crime in history. And you might be the only person on Earth who can see it. That's exactly what happened to Li Wei, a 26-year-old translator working at a prestigious Manhattan investment firm. He thought he had the perfect job. Great pay, respectable company, straightforward work translating Chinese financial documents into English. What he didn't know was that he'd accidentally become the most dangerous person in a building full of criminals. See, Li had a superpower that nobody else at Global Investment Partners possessed. He could read both the lies they were telling American investors and the truth they were hiding in Chinese documents. While his colleagues saw numbers and spreadsheets, Li saw something far more sinister. A financial house of cards built on a foundation of translated deception. The setup was diabolically simple. Wealthy Chinese investors would hand over their life savings, thinking they were investing in legitimate American opportunities. American investors would invest their retirement funds, believing they were getting access to China's booming economy. But the documents Li was translating revealed that neither group was getting what they thought they were paying for. Every morning, Li would arrive at his corner desk and find 2 stacks of documents waiting for him. The Chinese pile contained the brutal truth, failed investments, catastrophic losses, and phantom companies that existed only on paper. The English pile he was supposed to create, pure fiction, glowing reports of steady profits, successful ventures, and conservative risk management that bore no resemblance to reality. For months, Li had been the unwitting architect of a $40 billion Ponzi scheme, crafting the very lies that kept unsuspecting investors feeding money into a machine designed to steal from them. His translations weren't just bridging languages, they were bridging 2 completely different versions of reality. But here's the thing about having a superpower. Eventually, you have to decide what to do with it. And Li Wei was about to make a choice that would expose one of the most audacious financial crimes ever committed. A fraud so massive, it required cooperation between governments on 2 continents to fully unravel. Thursday, March 15th, 2018. 2:47 p.m. Li Wei's hands won't stop shaking. Bad shaking. The kind that makes your coffee cup sound like a rattlesnake. He's staring at his computer screen in his Manhattan office. 2 documents, same company, same quarter, but they tell completely opposite stories. And that's when Li realizes his entire life has been a lie. Document 1 is in Chinese. Golden Dragon Manufacturing lost 847 million yuan last quarter. Equipment failed. Contracts broke. Total disaster. Document 2 is in English, the one Li translated yesterday. It says Golden Dragon made 2.1 billion yuan profit. Record sales, massive success, everyone's celebrating. Same company, same time, opposite results. Li's mouth goes dry like sawdust. This isn't a mistake. This isn't a typo. This is something much, much worse. His phone buzzes. Sarah Chen, his boss. Need those reports by 4 p.m. Big investor meeting tomorrow. Make them sparkle. Make them sparkle. Right. Li finally gets what that really means. He opens another file, then another. Each one proves what makes his stomach turn inside out. For 6 months, Li has been turning disasters into success stories, turning lies into truth, turning theft into golden opportunities. The fluorescent lights buzz like angry wasps. His coffee tastes like metal. The air feels thick and wrong. Li works for Global Investment Partners. Fancy name, fancy office, fancy salary that seemed too good to be true. He translates Chinese business documents into English. Simple job, or so he thought. But Li just figured out he's the only person in this building who can read both sides of the biggest lie ever told. And that makes him the most dangerous man in all of Manhattan. Tomorrow morning, some retired teacher in Ohio will hand over her life savings. She'll invest in Golden Dragon manufacturing because Lee made it sound like printing money. She'll lose everything because Lee's lies are that convincing. His phone buzzes again. Different number. Library. Level B2. Come alone. Your life depends on it. The phone slips from his sweaty fingers like a bar of soap. 3 co-workers turn to look. He waves and tries to seem normal. But nothing will ever be normal again. Li Wei just became a witness to the crime of the century. And someone already knows he figured it out. The translator who thought he had the perfect job is about to discover that some jobs can get you permanently silenced. 6 months earlier. Monday, September 18th, 2017. 9:15 a.m. Li Wei stands in the marble lobby of Global Investment Partners, with his mouth hanging open like a tourist in Times Square. This place is absolutely insane. Crystal chandeliers hang from a ceiling so high it needs its own zip code. The reception desk looks like angels carved it from a single tree. Even the plants probably cost more than Lee's car payment. The security guard wears a uniform that screams serious money. The air smells like success and leather furniture. Everything whispers, "We swim in cash." Sarah Chen approaches him. Power suit, power handshake, power smile that doesn't quite reach her eyes. "Ready for your interview, Lee?" Lee nods. His best suit suddenly feels like it came from a thrift store, which it did. They ride an elevator with buttons that gleam like they're polished every hour. The hallway displays oil paintings of stern men in golden frames. These aren't decorations, they're trophies. The conference room is bigger than Lee's entire apartment. Floor-to-ceiling windows show Manhattan spread out like a treasure map. This is where life-changing deals happen. "Here's the situation," Sarah says, sliding a folder across the polished table. "We handle investments between Chinese and American markets. Documents need translation, fast turnaround, perfect accuracy." Lee opens the folder. The salary number makes his vision blur. This is more money than his parents make in 3 years combined. More money than he's dreamed of earning in his wildest fantasies. "That's extremely generous," Lee manages. "We pay for excellence," Sarah replies. "Our clients expect perfection. Can you deliver perfection?" Lee's been eating instant noodles for 2 years straight. His current job translating restaurant menus barely covers rent. This salary could change absolutely everything. New apartment, real food, help for his struggling parents back home. "Absolutely," Lee says, trying not to sound desperate. "Good. You start tomorrow." "Tomorrow?" Lee blinks hard. That's quite fast. "Time is money here, Lee. More time means more money. Less time means..." Sarah shrugs. "Well, less money." She hands him sample documents, Chinese financial reports about property development and technology investments. The numbers look impressive. Really, really impressive. "Seems straightforward," Lee says. "Straightforward is exactly what we need. Clean translation, no creative writing, just accurate English versions of Chinese documents." Lee nods like a bobblehead. This is his golden ticket to a better life. "One thing," Sarah adds as they shake hands. "We value privacy here. Client confidentiality is everything. What you translate stays here. Crystal clear?" Crystal clear. But as Lee rides the elevator down, nothing is clear at all. He doesn't understand why they hired him so fast. He doesn't understand why the pay is so high. And he doesn't understand why Sarah's smile felt like a warning wrapped in velvet. 6 months later, sitting in his office with shaking hands and threatening text messages, Lee finally understands exactly what goes wrong when dream jobs turn into living nightmares. But right now, he's just a young man who thinks he's about to change his life for the better. He has no idea he's about to become the most essential piece in a machine designed to destroy other people's lives completely. Tuesday, October 3rd, 2017, 11:30 a.m. 2 weeks into paradise, Lee hits his first pothole. And it's not a small one. He's working through investment reports when he finds a sentence that stops him dead cold. He reads it 3 times, checks his dictionary, reads it again in disbelief. The Chinese document says Harmony Manufacturing lost 340 million yuan due to equipment failures and supply problems. Massive losses, bad news all around. The English translation request tells him to report that Harmony Manufacturing exceeded profit expectations by 12% through smart improvements and strategic partnerships. Lee stares at both papers. This isn't translation. This is creative fiction worthy of bestseller lists. He knocks on Sarah's office door. She's speaking rapid Chinese to someone who sounds extremely unhappy. Lee catches pieces. Not acceptable. Investors asking questions. Handle it immediately, or... Sarah notices him and waves him in. Her office makes the conference room look humble. Persian rugs worth more than Lee's college education. A desk that belonged in a royal palace. Certificates covering an entire wall like wallpaper. She ends her call and turns to Lee with that familiar smile. "Problem?" Sarah asks sweetly. Lee places both documents on her desk. "There's a major difference here. The Chinese shows huge losses. You want me to report massive profits. This has to be an error." Sarah glances at the papers without really reading them, like she already knows exactly what they say. "No error, Lee. Sometimes Chinese reports are incomplete, preliminary numbers. The English versions reflect more current, updated information." Lee frowns. "But these have identical dates. Same quarter, same company, same everything." "Listen carefully, Lee." Sarah leans back in her chair. "We don't just translate words. We provide comprehensive investment analysis. Sometimes that means adding context with market intelligence and insider knowledge that wasn't in the original documents." Big words, fancy explanations, but Lee's gut is screaming that something smells rotten. "Isn't this potentially misleading to investors?" Lee asks very carefully. Sarah's smile disappears for exactly 1 second, long enough for Lee to glimpse something cold and sharp underneath. Then the smile returns, brighter than before. "We're not misleading anyone, Lee. We're providing the most accurate picture possible. Our clients pay premium fees for premium analysis. They're not paying for basic translation services. They're paying for our expertise and insights." Lee nods slowly. "Right. Expertise and insights. Exactly. Can you handle the translation as specifically requested, or do we need to find someone who can?" The threat is gentle, but crystal clear. Lee needs this job desperately. Needs the money. Needs the opportunity. And Sarah knows it perfectly. "I can handle it," Lee says. "Perfect. I knew you were the right choice for this position." Lee returns to his desk, feeling like he just swallowed poison. He stares at the documents for 10 long minutes before starting to type. "Harmony Manufacturing exceeded profit expectations by 12%. The words feel wrong as he writes them, like he's contaminating something pure. But he types them anyway because rent is due, and Sarah made it crystal clear that asking uncomfortable questions isn't part of his job description. What Lee doesn't know is this. Somewhere in China, an elderly man named Wang Shu is about to invest his entire retirement in Harmony Manufacturing. 60 years of factory work, every saved penny, all based on Lee's glowing English report that bears no resemblance to reality. Wang trusts American investment firms because they have rules, regulations, protection for small investors like him. Wang has no idea his life savings are about to vanish into a black hole of translated lies created by a young man who desperately needs to pay his rent on time. Lee finishes the translation and hits send. The document disappears into the company email system, carrying its cargo of fiction toward trusting investors. His phone buzzes. Text from his landlord. Rent due tomorrow. No more extensions. Lee looks at his paycheck stub. More money than he's ever made. Enough for rent, groceries, maybe even a decent dinner with his girlfriend. All he has to do is keep turning disasters into success stories, keep changing failures into profits, keep being the bridge between what really happened and what investors need to believe happened. How hard can it possibly be? Lee is about to discover that some bridges cross very deep, very dark water, and once you start walking across, finding your way back to solid ground becomes impossible. Monday, December 11th, 2017. 8:45 a.m. 3 months in, Lee finally sees the whole machine. And it's absolutely brilliant. Terrifyingly, criminally brilliant. He's been promoted to a corner office now. Better view of Manhattan, more money in his bank account, and way more documents that make absolutely no sense. But Lee stopped asking uncomfortable questions, because uncomfortable questions don't pay rent. This morning brings the usual routine. 2 stacks of papers on his desk, Chinese truth on the left, English fiction due by 5 o'clock sharp, coffee getting cold while he crafts lies for a living. But today, everything clicks into place. Lee sees the complete picture, and it makes him want to throw up his breakfast. Here's exactly how they do it. Global Investment Partners tells wealthy Chinese people they can invest in exclusive American opportunities, private equity deals, real estate developments, technology startups, the kind of ground floor opportunities that turn regular people into millionaires overnight. At the exact same time, they tell wealthy Americans they can invest in China's booming economy, manufacturing partnerships, property developments in Shanghai and Beijing, technology companies in Shenzhen, exclusive access to the fastest growing market on Earth. Both sides think they're getting something special, something their neighbors can't access, something that will make them rich beyond their wildest dreams. But here's the horrible, beautiful truth. There are no special opportunities, no exclusive deals, no ground floor investments that will make anyone rich. Money flows in from both sides. Lee translates glowing reports about how brilliantly everything is performing. More money flows in. Lee translates more glowing reports. Round and round it spins, with Lee's carefully crafted lies keeping the whole machine running smoothly. Chinese investors get English reports they can't fully understand, showing their American investments are generating fantastic returns. American investors get Chinese reports they can't read, proving their Chinese investments are printing money. And Lee is the only human being on Earth who can read both sides of the lie. He opens his computer and starts tracking the patterns systematically. Shanghai property project supposedly generating millions in rental income. Lee's been writing glowing reports about it for 3 months straight, but the Chinese documents reveal it's an empty lot that the company doesn't even legally own. Technology manufacturing partnership in Guangzhou, supposedly revolutionizing consumer electronics. Chinese reports show it's a defunct factory that hasn't operated since 2015. American private equity deal, supposedly buying into the next Facebook. Lee creates detailed reports about tremendous user growth and revenue increases. But there's no actual company, just a professional-looking website and a Delaware mailbox. Lee leans back in his chair and stares at his ceiling. The scale is absolutely staggering. Hundreds of fake investments, thousands of translated lies, billions of dollars flowing in from people who trust American investment firms to follow basic rules. His phone rings. Sarah Chen. Lee, excellent work on the quarterly reports. Our investors are extremely pleased with the performance numbers you've been providing. Performance numbers, like Lee is personally inventing them, which he basically is. Thank you, Lee manages. I'm sending over new documents. priority translation. Expansion plans need these ready for tomorrow morning's presentation. More documents, more lies, more fuel for the ever-hungry machine. Lee hangs up and does quick calculations. If his estimates are correct, Global Investment Partners has collected nearly $8 billion over the past 2 years. $8 billion that was supposed to grow in legitimate investments. Instead, it just disappeared into a network of fake companies and imaginary partnerships that exist only in Lee's translated reports. But here's what really makes Lee physically sick. This isn't just theft on a massive scale. This is the systematic destruction of lives across 2 continents. His computer chimes with new documents from Sarah. More translations needed, more lies to craft, more poison to inject into the international financial system. Lee opens the first document and sees something that makes his hands start shaking again. It's a list of new investors. Real names, real addresses, real investment amounts. Mrs. Chen Meiling, age 67, Beijing, recently widowed, investing 2.3 million yuan, everything her deceased husband left her, in what she believes is a safe American real estate fund. David Morrison, age 43, Milwaukee, emptying his entire retirement account to invest $340,000 in what he thinks is a revolutionary Chinese manufacturing company. These aren't just numbers on spreadsheets. These are real people with real families whose real lives are about to be completely destroyed by Lee's carefully crafted translations. Lee stares at the names until his vision blurs. His coffee has gone cold again. The air conditioning hums like mechanical insects. Outside his window, New York City continues its relentless dance of ambition and money. Somewhere in this glass tower, executives are planning how to spend their stolen billions while Lee sits at his corner desk, finally understanding that he's become the most essential component in a machine specifically designed to destroy innocent lives. The translator who thought he found his dream job has discovered he's actually the architect of other people's worst nightmares. But Lee doesn't know the most terrifying part yet. He doesn't know that Mrs. Chen reminds Sarah of her own beloved grandmother. He doesn't know that David Morrison's investment represents his daughter's entire college fund. And he definitely doesn't know that the executives upstairs have already decided what to do with translators who start asking too many questions. Li Wei is about to learn that some employment contracts come with extremely permanent termination clauses. Thursday, March 15th, 2018, 3:15 p.m. Remember that terrifying text message? The one that made Lee drop his phone like it was on fire? He's been staring at it for 28 minutes straight. Library. Level B2. Come alone. Your life depends on it. Lee desperately wants to believe it's spam. Wrong number. Sick joke. But his gut knows better. Someone else figured out what Global Investment Partners really does for a living. The question is, friend or enemy? Lee glances around the office. Co-workers typing, talking, looking perfectly normal. But now everything seems different and sinister. That woman by the printer. Does she know she works for a criminal empire? The guy eating his sandwich. Is he part of the massive fraud or just another useful fool? Sarah Chen walks past his office, speaking rapid Chinese on her phone. Lee catches enough words to understand she's discussing containment protocols and asset protection measures. She notices him listening and closes his door with a smile that makes his skin crawl like insects. Lee saves his work and locks his computer. He tells his assistant he's researching financial terminology at the library. Normal translator stuff. Nothing remotely suspicious. The New York Public Library is 12 blocks away. Lee walks slowly, checking over his shoulder every few steps. He's probably being paranoid. But paranoia seems perfectly reasonable when you accidentally witness the crime of the century. The main floor buzzes with tourists and students. Lee takes the elevator down to level B2, the basement level, where they keep old archives and storage rooms that nobody visits unless they're looking for something very specific, or someone very dangerous. Lee finds a corner table near dusty economics books and waits. His hands are sweating. His heart pounds so loud he worries other people can hear it echoing. At exactly 3:47 p.m., a woman approaches his table. Asian American, maybe 35, wearing jeans and a Columbia University sweatshirt. She looks like a graduate student, not a federal agent or corporate assassin. "Li Wei?" she asks quietly. He nods, not trusting his voice. She sits across from him and slides a manila folder across the table. "Agent Rebecca Liu, FBI Financial Crimes Division. We've been watching Global Investment Partners for 8 months. Lee's vision goes slightly fuzzy around the edges. FBI Financial Crimes Division. This is real. This is actually happening. "Am I under arrest?" he whispers. "That depends entirely on how much you know about your employer's real business activities." Lee stares at the folder. His entire future is probably inside that manila envelope. Prison sentence or cooperation agreement. Criminal charges or witness protection program. "I know they're stealing money," Lee says quietly. "Massive amounts of money from people who can't afford to lose it." Agent Liu nods grimly. "We estimate approximately $12 billion over the past 3 years, but we can't prove it in court without someone on the inside, someone who can read the documents in both languages." 12 billion. Lee's estimate was dramatically low. "What exactly do you want from me?" Lee asks. Agent Liu opens the folder and slides several photographs across the table. Lee recognizes them immediately. Sarah Chen, entering a restaurant with a man in an expensive suit. Financial documents with Global Investment Partners letterhead. Bank transfer records showing millions of dollars moving between international accounts. "We want you to help us stop them," Agent Liu says simply, "before they steal another 12 billion from people who trust American investment firms to follow the law." Lee picks up one of the photographs. Sarah Chen is laughing at something her companion said. She looks relaxed, happy, like someone thoroughly enjoying the fruits of systematic theft. "What would I have to do?" Lee asks. "Keep doing your job exactly like before. Keep translating documents, but copy everything and pass it to us through secure channels. Help us build an airtight case that will shut them down permanently. And if they discover what I'm doing..." Agent Liu's expression darkens considerably. "We have strong reason to believe Global Investment Partners has eliminated potential problems before. A translator in their Hong Kong office died in a car accident last year. Very convenient timing." Lee's blood turns to ice water. Car accident. Very convenient timing. He thinks about Sarah Chen's smiles that never reach her eyes. He thinks about the security guards who look more like bodyguards. He thinks about the way conversations immediately stop when he walks into rooms. "How long would I have to do this?" Lee asks. "However long it takes to gather enough evidence for federal indictments. Could be weeks, could be months. Months of pretending everything is normal while secretly documenting the biggest financial fraud in history. Months of translating lies while covertly recording the truth. Months of wondering if today is the day his colleagues realize he's working for the FBI." Lee looks at the photographs again. Somewhere in China, Mrs. Chen Mei-ling is probably checking her investment statements right now, feeling happy that her American real estate fund is performing so well. Somewhere in Milwaukee, David Morrison is planning his daughter's college education, confident that his Chinese manufacturing investment will pay for her tuition. Neither of them knows their money is already gone forever. Neither of them knows they're victims of crimes that required Lee's translations to succeed. "Okay," Lee says firmly. "I'll do it." Agent Liu slides a business card across the table. "Call this number if you're in immediate physical danger. Otherwise, we communicate through encrypted email. Complete instructions are in the folder. Lee takes the card and the folder. His hands are steady now. For the first time in months, he knows exactly what he's doing and why. He's not just translating lies anymore. He's gathering evidence to stop them permanently. "One more thing," Agent Liu says as she stands to leave. "Don't try to be a hero. Don't confront anyone. Don't change your behavior patterns. Act like absolutely nothing happened. Because if Sarah Chen suspects you're working with us, that convenient car accident could happen to absolutely anyone." Lee nods and watches Agent Liu disappear into the stacks of old books. He sits alone at the corner table for another 10 minutes, processing what just happened. The translator who accidentally became a $40 billion spy just officially became a $40 billion spy. Tomorrow morning, he has to return to his corner office and pretend he's still just translating documents for a respectable investment firm. But now every translation is evidence. Every lie he crafts is proof of crimes that could send people to prison for life. Every document he handles is another piece of the puzzle that will eventually destroy global investment partners completely. Li Wei has transformed from unwitting accomplice to undercover federal agent. And the most dangerous part of his story is just beginning. Friday, March 23rd, 2018, 7:30 a.m. 1 week as an FBI spy, Lee discovers that being undercover is absolutely nothing like the movies. It's mostly pure terror, with brief moments of boredom, punctuated by constant fear of getting permanently eliminated in parking garages. Lee arrives at Global Investment Partners early every morning now. Not because he's eager to work, but because he needs extra time to copy documents without anyone noticing. His briefcase contains a portable scanner from Agent Liu. High resolution, completely silent, connects to secure cloud storage through military-grade encrypted Wi-Fi. The security guard nods as Lee swipes his badge. Same guard, same nod, same routine. But everything feels completely different now. The marble lobby looks like an active crime scene. The expensive art looks like evidence of stolen money. Even the overpriced coffee in the break room tastes like liquid guilt. The morning document stack is larger than usual. Quarterly reports for 17 different fake investment opportunities that need translation from brutal truth into beautiful fiction by closing time. Lee opens the first document and immediately feels physically sick. Golden Sunrise Properties, Shanghai Development Project. The Chinese document reports that construction has been completely shut down by local authorities due to environmental violations and unpaid contractor fees. The property is essentially worthless. The land lease has been permanently revoked. Lee's job? Translate this disaster into a glowing report showing that Golden Sunrise Properties achieved record-breaking pre-sales numbers and is ahead of schedule for grand opening in Q3 2018. 17 retired families in Phoenix invested their entire life savings in Golden Sunrise Properties just last month. Lee personally translated the marketing materials that convinced them it was a safe, profitable investment in China's booming real estate market. Those 17 families are about to lose absolutely everything they worked their entire lives to save. Lee starts typing the fictional report while simultaneously scanning the real Chinese documents with his hidden device. Every lie he writes is evidence for the FBI. Every translation that destroys someone's life is another nail in Sarah Chen's legal coffin. The irony is absolutely brutal. The faster Lee works, the more evidence he collects against global investment partners. But the faster he works, the more innocent people get systematically defrauded by his meticulously crafted translations. At 11:30 a.m., Sarah Chen appears in his doorway with two men Lee doesn't recognize. Expensive suits, expensive watches, expensive haircuts that probably cost more than Lee's monthly rent. "Lee, meet our partners from Hong Kong," Sarah says with that plastic smile. Mr. Wong and Mr. Zhao are here to discuss expanding our translation operations internationally. Li shakes hands with both men, trying to look professional, while his mind races frantically. Partners from Hong Kong, the exact same Hong Kong office where a translator died in a convenient car accident. Mr. Wong speaks first, in heavily accented English. Sarah tells us you're extremely skilled at contextualizing financial documents for international audiences. Contextualizing, such a polite, professional word for systematic lying. I try to provide accurate translations that serve our clients' needs, Li replies carefully. Mr. Zhao studies Li like he's examining a piece of potentially defective equipment. How long have you been with Global Investment Partners? 6 months. And you enjoy the work? Li forces fake enthusiasm into his voice. Very much. It's extremely rewarding to help facilitate international investment opportunities. The two men exchange meaningful glances, some kind of silent communication that makes Li's skin crawl like insects. Excellent, Sarah says brightly. Mr. Ti Wong and Mr. Zhao are developing exciting new opportunities in Southeast Asia. We may need additional translation support for Vietnamese and Thai documents. Vietnamese and Thai. New languages mean new lies. New lies mean new victims. The machine is growing exponentially. After the visitors leave, Li immediately scans their business cards with his hidden device. The FBI will definitely want to know about Global Investment Partners' aggressive expansion plans, especially if those plans involve the kind of convenient accidents that happened in Hong Kong. The translator turned spy is walking an increasingly narrow tightrope between justice and survival, and the ground below keeps getting farther and farther away. But Li doesn't know that Sarah Chen is already deeply suspicious of his recent behavior. He doesn't know that the Hong Kong visitors specialize in permanent solutions to personnel problems. And he definitely doesn't know that his encrypted FBI communications are about to be discovered. The double life that seemed so dangerous is about to become a direct matter of life and death. Wednesday, April 4th, 2018. 4:22 p.m. Li's carefully constructed world begins collapsing at exactly 4:22 p.m. on an ordinary Wednesday. It starts with one sentence that turns his blood to pure ice. Li, we need to discuss some serious irregularities in your recent work. Sarah Chen stands in his doorway with that smile that has never meant anything good. But this time, 2 security guards lurk behind her. Not the friendly lobby guard who nods every morning. These are the serious ones, the ones who clearly handle irregularities permanently. Li's hand hovers over his computer mouse. One click would delete his browser history. Another click would completely wipe his hard drive. But sudden movements around serious security guards seem like an extremely bad idea. What kind of irregularities? Li asks, fighting to keep his voice steady. Sarah enters his office and closes the door firmly. The guards remain outside, but Li can see their ominous shadows through the frosted glass. They're definitely not going anywhere. Our IT department noticed some very unusual network activity from your computer, Sarah says, settling into the chair across from his desk, like a predator getting comfortable. Large file uploads during off hours, encrypted communications, very sophisticated stuff for a simple translator. Li's mouth goes completely dry. His portable scanner sits in his briefcase, exactly 3 feet from Sarah Chen. If she searches his bag, his career as a spy ends immediately, along with, quite probably, his career as a breathing human being. I sometimes work from home, Li says carefully. I upload completed translations to our secure server after normal business hours. Sarah's smile widens dangerously. That would make perfect sense. Except our server logs clearly show you're not uploading to our internal system. You're uploading to external cloud storage, government cloud storage. The room feels like it's physically shrinking around him. Lee's vision narrows to Sarah's face, which no longer pretends to be friendly. Behind that corporate mask, he sees something cold and absolutely predatory. "I think there's been some kind of mistake," Lee says weakly. "No mistake whatsoever, Lee. We've been monitoring your activities very carefully for 2 full weeks, ever since our Hong Kong partners recognized your particular methodology." Recognized him? Lee's never been to Hong Kong in his entire life. He's never met those men before yesterday. Sarah must see his genuine confusion because she continues with obvious satisfaction. "They didn't recognize you personally. They recognized your work patterns. You see, our previous translator in Hong Kong was also extremely skilled at his job, right up until he started asking very inconvenient questions. The translator who died in a car accident." Lee's hands start trembling uncontrollably. "Mr. Liu was quite talented," Sarah continues conversationally. "Excellent language skills, meticulous attention to detail, and an extremely unfortunate tendency to develop a troublesome conscience at the worst possible moments." Lee forces himself to breathe normally. "I don't understand what you're implying." "I'm not implying anything, Lee. I'm stating clear facts. Mr. Liu discovered what our company really does for a living. He contacted law enforcement agencies. He thought he could expose us and somehow walk away with his life intact." Sarah stands and walks to Lee's window, gazing out at the Manhattan skyline like she's admiring an expensive painting. "The thing about conscience, Lee, is that it's a luxury. A luxury that people in your exact position absolutely cannot afford." Lee's phone buzzes with a text message. He glances at the screen, and his heart completely stops beating. The message is from Agent Liu. "Emergency extraction protocol. Leave building immediately. Do not return to apartment. Do not contact anyone." Sarah notices his reaction instantly. "Expecting important news." Lee forces a casual shrug. "Just my girlfriend. Dinner plans." But Sarah is already moving with practiced efficiency. She reaches across his desk and takes his phone before he can react. The security guards outside his door shift positions, blocking any possible escape routes. Sarah reads the message and actually laughs out loud. "Agent Liu, Rebecca Liu, FBI Financial Crimes Division. You know, Lee, we've been monitoring her communications too. Did you really think the FBI could conduct a covert operation inside our building without us knowing every single detail?" Lee's world tilts completely sideways. If Global Investment Partners has been monitoring Agent Liu, then they know absolutely everything. Every document he copied, every piece of evidence he gathered, every plan the FBI made to bring them down. "Here's exactly what's going to happen," Sarah says, settling back into her chair with complete confidence. "You're going to continue working for us. You're going to immediately stop all communication with law enforcement, and you're going to help us identify other potential problems in our organization. And if I refuse..." Sarah's smile vanishes completely, replaced by something cold and absolutely lethal. "Mr. Liu refused our generous offer. He was found 3 days later in his car at the bottom of Victoria Harbor. Tragic accident. Could happen to absolutely anyone." Lee stares at her, finally understanding the complete scope of what he's gotten himself into. This isn't just financial fraud on a massive scale. This is organized crime with unlimited international reach and resources. The kind of operation that makes inconvenient people disappear forever when they become problems. "I need time to think about this," Lee says. "Of course. Take all the time you need." Sarah stands and heads for the door. As she reaches for the handle, she turns back with one final thought. "Oh, and Lee, don't bother trying to contact Agent Liu again. She's no longer in any position to help anyone." The door closes behind her with a soft, final click. Lee is alone in his office, but he's never felt less alone in his entire life. The shadows of the security guards remain outside his door. Watching? Waiting? Planning? Lee looks at his computer screen, where a half-finished translation sits waiting to be completed. Another lie that will steal money from innocent people. Another piece of evidence in a case that may never see the inside of any courtroom. His hands shake as he reaches for his briefcase. The portable scanner is still there, hidden in a side pocket. Weeks of evidence that could potentially destroy global investment partners. Evidence that might be the only thing keeping him alive right now. Because Li Wei has just learned that some jobs don't come with standard 2 weeks' notice. Some jobs you keep until they permanently terminate you. And right now, Li's only choice is between being a living criminal or becoming a dead hero. But Li doesn't know that Agent Liu is still very much alive, hidden in a federal safe house, coordinating with international law enforcement to take down global investment partners once and for all. He doesn't know that his weeks of evidence gathering have already triggered the largest financial crime investigation in history. And he definitely doesn't know that Sarah Chen just made the biggest mistake of her criminal career by revealing her hand far too early. The translator who became a spy is about to discover that sometimes the best way to survive a criminal organization is to help destroy it completely and permanently. Thursday, April 5th, 2018, 6:15 a.m. Lee hasn't slept in 18 hours straight. He's sitting in his apartment, staring at his laptop screen, knowing that every second he waits makes his situation exponentially worse. Sarah Chen thinks she has him completely trapped. She thinks fear will keep him in line forever. She's dead wrong. Lee opens his encrypted communication software and types a message to Agent Liu, desperately hoping she's still alive to receive it. They know about our entire operation. They're monitoring all communications, but I have everything we need to destroy them. Meet me at Grand Central, Information Booth, 8 a.m. sharp. Come heavily armed. Lee hits send and immediately destroys his laptop's hard drive with military-grade software. If Sarah's people come for him, they won't find anything remotely useful. But the portable scanner in his briefcase contains something infinitely more valuable than Sarah Chen realizes. It's not just evidence of massive financial fraud. It's comprehensive proof of international money laundering, systematic tax evasion, and conspiracy to commit multiple murders. The kind of evidence that doesn't just destroy companies. It completely topples criminal empires. Because Li Wei spent 6 months meticulously documenting every single transaction, every fake investment, every stolen dollar. What he discovered is that global investment partners isn't just stealing from individual investors. They're laundering money for organized crime syndicates across 3 continents. The Chinese documents revealed direct payments to shell companies controlled by criminal organizations. American documents showed investments from pension funds managed by corrupt officials. The whole operation is a massive nexus of international crime that goes far beyond simple investment fraud. Lee showers, dresses in his best suit, and prepares for what might be his last day as a free man, or his last day as a living man. Either way, he's completely done being afraid. At 7:45 a.m., Lee enters Grand Central Terminal. Morning rush hour is in full swing. Thousands of commuters flowing through the massive space, like blood through arteries. Perfect cover for a clandestine meeting. Agent Liu waits by the information booth, wearing sunglasses and a baseball cap. She looks tired, but extremely alert. Very, very alert. "You're supposed to be dead," Lee says quietly. "Reports of my death were greatly exaggerated," Agent Liu replies with a grim smile. Sarah Chen thinks she eliminated the FBI threat completely. She's about to discover she eliminated absolutely nothing. Lee hands her the portable scanner. "Everything's here. 6 months of comprehensive evidence, financial records, communication logs, proof of international criminal connections." Agent Liu takes the device and immediately transfers data to a secure phone. This is more than we hoped for. More than we need to destroy them completely. What happens now? Now we spring the trap. Global Investment Partners thinks they've won decisively. They think they neutralized our investigation and intimidated you into permanent compliance. They're about to make the biggest mistake of their criminal careers. Agent Liu's phone buzzes with a text message in Chinese characters. Li reads it over her shoulder. Emergency board meeting. All senior partners required immediately. Discuss expansion plans and security protocols. Emergency meeting, Li translates. All senior partners in one place at one time. Agent Liu smiles dangerously. Perfect. We've been trying to get them all together for months. Li's phone rings. Sarah Chen. Li, we need you at the office immediately. Emergency translation work. Extremely urgent. I'll be right there, Li says. Agent Liu grabs his arm. You don't have to go back there. We have enough evidence to proceed without you. No, Li says firmly. Those people trusted me to translate documents that stole their life savings. The least I can do is be there when justice finally catches up with them. At 9:30 a.m., Li Wei walks through the marble lobby of Global Investment Partners for the absolute last time. Security guards nod like always. Expensive art still hangs on the walls. Crystal chandeliers still gleam overhead. But everything is different now, because in exactly 30 minutes, this building will be surrounded by FBI agents, international law enforcement, and enough evidence to put everyone inside it away for life. Li takes the elevator to the executive floor. Sarah waits in the boardroom with 5 other people he recognizes from financial documents. The senior partners, the architects of the $40 billion fraud. Li, thank you for coming on such short notice, Sarah says. We need emergency translations for our Southeast Asia expansion. Very time sensitive. Li opens his briefcase and pretends to look for translation materials. What he's really doing is activating a recording device that Agent Liu gave him. Everything said in this room for the next 30 minutes will be evidence in federal court. Before we begin, Li says calmly, I have some questions about discrepancies I've noticed in recent documents. Sarah's smile freezes completely. What kind of discrepancies? The kind that prove Global Investment Partners has systematically defrauded investors for 3 years. The kind that prove you've stolen approximately $15 billion from people who trusted American investment firms to follow basic laws. The room goes absolutely silent. Deadly silent. Sarah recovers first. Li, I think you're confused about... I'm not confused about anything, Li interrupts with complete confidence. I know exactly what this company does. I know about the shell companies in Hong Kong. I know about the organized crime connections. I know about the translator who asked too many questions and ended up dead. One of the senior partners reaches inside his jacket. Li hopes it's a phone. He strongly suspects it's not. The thing is, Li continues, I've been documenting everything for the FBI. Every fake translation, every stolen dollar, every crime you've committed in the name of international investment. Sarah's corporate mask finally slips completely. The polished executive disappears, replaced by something cold and absolutely vicious. You stupid, naive boy, she hisses. Do you have any idea who you're dealing with? Do you think the FBI can protect you from the kind of people we work with? Li checks his watch. 22 minutes until the cavalry arrives. I know exactly who I'm dealing with, Li says calmly. I'm dealing with criminals who think money makes them untouchable. I'm dealing with thieves who destroy families for profit. I'm dealing with murderers who think fear is more powerful than justice. The senior partner who reached inside his jacket now has his hand on what is definitely not a phone. But here's what you don't know, Li continues with a smile. You don't know that every word you've spoken in this room is being recorded. You don't know that FBI agents are currently freezing your bank accounts. And you don't know that international law enforcement is arresting your partners in Hong Kong, Singapore, and Shanghai as we speak. Sarah's face goes completely white. That's impossible. We would have been warned. You were warned. By me, 6 months ago, when I started asking questions about discrepancies in translation work. You just didn't listen. Lee stands and walks to the boardroom window. 17 floors below, he can see unmarked cars surrounding the building. Federal agents in tactical gear taking positions at every exit. "Ladies and gentlemen," Lee announces to the room, "you have approximately 15 minutes to enjoy your freedom. I suggest you use them wisely." The translator who accidentally became a $40 billion spy has just delivered the most important translation of his career. He's translated justice into a language that criminals can finally understand. And in 15 minutes, Lee Wei will walk out of Global Investment Partners as a free man, leaving behind a criminal empire that thought money could buy anything, including silence. They were wrong. Some things aren't for sale, including the conscience of a translator who decided that some lies are too big to keep translating. Monday, September 17th, 2018. 10:30 a.m., 6 months after the largest financial crime bust in history, Lee Wei sits in a federal courthouse in Lower Manhattan, watching Sarah Chen receive a sentence of 45 years in federal prison. She's not smiling anymore. The judge has been reading sentences all morning. 45 years for Sarah Chen, 38 years for the Hong Kong partners, 25 to 30 years for the other senior executives. Life sentences for those who ordered the murder of the previous translator. Lee watches from the gallery as the woman who once threatened his life is led away in handcuffs. She doesn't look back, doesn't acknowledge his presence, which is perfectly fine with Lee. He's not here for closure, he's here for the victims. Because this isn't really about Sarah Chen or Global Investment Partners. It's about Mrs. Chen Mei-Ling, who got her 2.3 million yuan back plus interest. It's about David Morrison, whose daughter's college fund was restored and protected. It's about 17 families in Phoenix who thought they'd lost everything, but discovered that sometimes justice actually works. The final tally was absolutely staggering. $15 billion stolen from over 12,000 investors across 6 countries. Money that was supposed to be building retirement security and funding dreams. Instead, funding criminal enterprises and murderous conspiracies. But here's the beautiful part. Almost all of it was recovered. When you're running a massive scheme, you can't actually spend the money as fast as you steal it. Most of the stolen funds were sitting in bank accounts, waiting to be laundered. The FBI seized assets across 4 continents, frozen bank accounts in 12 countries, recovered enough luxury goods to stock a department store. Lee's testimony was crucial, but the portable scanner evidence provided a complete digital paper trail that led investigators to every bank account, every shell company, every criminal connection in the Global Investment Partners network. The case made international headlines. The translator who toppled a criminal empire. $15 billion fraud exposed by bilingual whistleblower. Lee didn't enjoy the attention, still doesn't, but the letters made it worthwhile. Hundreds of letters from victims whose lives were saved by Lee's decision to work with the FBI. Mrs. Chen Mei-Ling sent a handwritten note in Chinese. "Thank you for giving me back my husband's legacy. Thank you for proving good people still exist in bad places." David Morrison sent a photo of his daughter at college graduation. She made the dean's list. None of this would have been possible without your courage. Those letters sit on Lee's desk in his new office. He works for the FBI now, in Financial Crimes Division. Same translation work, but this time he translates evidence that puts criminals in prison instead of lies that steal people's money. The pay isn't as good as global investment partners. The office isn't as fancy. The coffee isn't as expensive. But Li Wei sleeps well at night. And that's worth more than all the stolen money in the world. Agent Rebecca Liu stops by Li's desk as he finishes his daily work. She's been promoted to lead the International Financial Crimes Task Force. "New case file," she says, dropping a folder on his desk. "International money laundering operation. Documents in Mandarin, Cantonese, and Thai. Estimated 12 billion in stolen assets." Li opens the folder and scans the documents. Same patterns, same lies, different languages, same crimes. "How long do you think this investigation will take?" Li asks. Agent Liu smiles. "However long it takes to get justice for the victims." Li Wei picks up his pen and starts translating. Not lies this time. Truth. Evidence. Justice in whatever language criminals try to hide it. The translator, who accidentally became a $40 billion spy, has found his calling in making sure that justice speaks every language fluently.